I am so excited about today's episode. I'm gonna try to not to yell. So good. This week's project is a really fun one. I am actually partnering with Heart Tools to build a dresser base. If you don't know what that is, it's when you have a dresser with a flat base completely and you use wood and typically some pretty big tools to cut the wood and build a nice sturdy base so that your furniture is now lifted off the floor, better supported, and gorgeous. Like, it adds so much beauty to the piece and it makes it modern. And I've never built one before because I don't know how to use a miter saw. I get really worried about using the jig itself for the pocket holes, and there's just a lot of skill that goes into building a base. We are going to be learning how to do that using Heart Tools. I'm going to be giving you guys a very descriptive learning tutorial of like what I'm learning throughout using the tools. I'm of course going to be linking all of the products I use. So if throughout this whole video you at all see a product that you really are interested in, want to learn more about, or even want to purchase, please check out the caption, click those links. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a really great video. Now, there's a reason I'm so excited about this project. I got this dresser for only $50 and I saw the potential. There was that curved base, which is really outdated, and it makes a piece a lot less modern and a lot less adaptable to different styles. So we knocked off the front piece with a hammer because it was just secured on by nails, and my husband used a circular saw to remove the sides to cut it all flush and flat. It's not always necessary, but we were able to do it with this piece. So if you have a piece that has a base that's easily removable all around, you don't need this part. You don't have to worry about that. Once it was completely flattened out, I started with my normal prepping steps. I first removed all of the hardware so that I can get all of the gunk cleaned off. I then cleaned with my all-purpose cleaner, which I highly recommend. It is a degreaser and a cleaner, so it really gets the most bang for your buck. Then I removed any stickers or anything like that. I personally am the type that removes all of my drawers in order to get it prepped. Some people prefer to have them in. They think that it's more efficient for their way of doing things. I prefer all removed because then I can work on them all flat on the floor and all laid out, and I can get a better gauge of what I'm working on. So mentally, it helps me process the pieces better. So once I got them all removed, I filled them all with Bondo. Bondo is this incredible product that will dry hard as rock after just 3 to 5 minutes. So I apply that to all of the hardware holes that I'm filling in and any dings or cracks. And when I say it dries on hard, I literally mean it dries on hard. It is supposed to be a filler so that if you are painting over it, you won't even be able to tell that it had a hole, or like this one had a corner missing. And so I was able to use that Bondo and it gave it the exact filling that it needed. So now it is the perfect shape that it originally was. Once I had all of the pieces scuff sanded and all of the Bondo was sanded flat, I got to the fun part. I got these 1x3 pieces from Home Depot and also 2x2 pieces for the legs. I'm going to go over measurements in just a second, but I want to go over safety features for the miter saw. There's this light on the miter saw where it shows you exactly where the blade is going to be. So if you hold the miter saw down to your piece, you'll be able to see exactly where the cut is going to be and line it up before twisting that little clamp to make sure your piece is nice and sturdy. 2 more quick things that I learned. The first one is that you want to make sure that you screw your miter saw or clamp it down to the surface you're working on so that it better secures it. And then the second one, you want to make sure the blade completely stops spinning before you lift it up from your piece. Again, I was terrified of the miter saw, so if you're worried too, There are so many safety features that really help it go way smoother. There's even a safety trigger so that you can't accidentally just bump the miter saw on. You have to be intentional about pulling the trigger to get the saw spinning. Super, super reassuring. Next is the pocket hole jig. The pocket hole jig is phenomenal. It's going to help you secure one piece to another while hiding the screw holes and the screws itself. What you're going to do is you're going to line up that H heart logo to the edge of your piece, and you're going to use 3/4 is what I used, and you're going to use 1 1/4 screws in order to connect the two pieces and get them nice and secured. I have completely cut all of the pieces that I've needed. I've added all of the pocket holes that I needed as well. These two pieces, these are going to be the backs, and so when you look through them, wherever those little tiny holes are, that's where the screws are going to go. So these are going to be facing up so that these can go into the dresser and these will go into the legs, and then they will be connecting to the legs, which will then be connecting to the side pieces, and then those connect to the legs again, which then connects to the big boy. I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of holes going upwards just so it can connect to the dresser at multiple points because I want it to be really, really sturdy. And then of course I did the side ones as well so that these connect to the legs. And yeah, guys, my measurements and the cuts came out so I am going to show you guys a diagram that I have of the dresser base itself, and hopefully that helps you understand a little bit of what to do. So I did a rough sketch of the dresser itself, and this is a beautiful sketch, but what I did is I measured from one side to the other, and that's how I got 55, 13, 16. So that's my measurement for the entire front of my piece. And then I did the sides as well, which get me 16 3/4. And obviously there are two sides of the dresser, so I have to remember that I'm doing this measurement twice. One of the big things that you want to make sure when making the cuts is that you want to take into account for the leg length. So for example, if I have this front piece, it is 56 inches long. The front of the dresser is 56 inches long. However, each leg is 1.5 inches wide, which means that because I have two legs, one on each side of this is going to be 56 minus 3 inches. So the math part is a little tricky once you're getting started, but once you get the hang of it and realize like, oh, a leg is 1.5 inches, I have two legs, that's 3 inches total. That means that whatever my measurement of the front of the dresser is, I need to subtract 3 inches in order to get the exact length for this piece itself so that all of it fits. That is so important. That was definitely a little bit of a learning curve for my math side. I kept doing 1.5 off and then realized like, oh, my wood is too long, so I gotta redo that. I'll show you guys my diagram. Hopefully it helps. Now I am going to finish prepping the dresser before I assemble the base. To finish prepping the dresser, I needed to drill in some new hardware holes. So I used this hardware jig, which helps me get the exact same distance really quickly. And so I was able to do those holes really quickly with very, very minimal stress. I finished scuff sanding the entire piece before I was able to prime the piece. I always scuff sand with 120 grit. That's going to help the primer adhere to the piece the best. In order to tell the grit, you're actually going to look at the back side of the sandpaper, and it's going to show you the number that you want. The lower you go, the rougher it is. The higher you go, the softer it is. So 120 is perfect for scuff sanding, and then you can go to like 220 or 320 for lightly sanding between your pieces. As for priming, I like to use Bullseye's 123 primer. I just started using this and it's way better than the Kills primer I was using before, so I highly, highly recommend. One of the biggest differences that I've noticed is with the Kills primer, I always was able to scratch it off, and I don't know if it was just the type I was using, but with the Bullseye 123 primer, I cannot scratch it off whether if I try or not, which is perfect because then I know it's going to help my paint stick to the actual piece way better. Let's talk about a couple of tips for spraying on paint. I personally love the Wagner 5000 the most. I think it's super lightweight and it still gives me a really great quality of paint work, and it's more affordable than some other options, and so I love this one and I highly recommend it. As for spraying it on, you want to make sure that when you are spraying it on, you're staying the same distance from your piece and you are overlapping about 50% each time to get the smoothest finish. Next, I'm revealing the top. To remove that damage that was really noticeable, I honestly was able to sand through it. You can still kind of see it in the middle over there, but it is significantly better, and I hope the stain will help cover it.
I'm trying to be more efficient in the garage, and so this is like a massive dolly cart that I have my sprayer and my surf prep sander on, and it has helped me so much. So I have found that just putting these both on the same cart and rolling the cart out is so much easier than carrying the sander out and carrying the sprayer out separately, having them both kind of like laid out on the floor and then like juggling between their cords. I do need to find a more efficient way to kind of keep the cords everywhere. But yeah, I just removed the wheels from my sander so that it would actually fit. And this has seriously been a game changer for my space. It helps me move around so much easier, and I just have an extension cord that I switch between the two because they're both corded. Super big game changer. I'm gonna list a very similar dolly on Amazon in my caption, so if you think that this could help you be more efficient in your space as well, definitely check it out. It has helped me so much. I am loving how this stain looks, and I didn't even record it because I always get so nervous but I can't even find the place that had that damage. So good.
You guys, we are almost there. Now we just have to assemble the base and finish that off and then attach it to the dresser. How I'm doing this is I am clamping these pieces firmly to the table. Once I get it clamped to my workspace, then I can start drilling them together. I wanted to make sure that every single area was clamped together before making those drills so that nothing shifted, so that I could get the straightest fit possible. Next, I sanded the base and then I stained it with some dark walnut to match the top, and then I just had to assemble it to the actual dresser itself. I made sure to screw on the edges first so that I knew that it was perfectly lined up, and then I filled in the middle ones. I applied the hardware, and this was the final touch, and then here's a reminder of the before. This is my favorite part because here is the after. I always get so excited showing you guys because seeing how you guys react to the transformation is so rewarding for myself, because when I look at it, I can't believe I turned that beat up old dresser into this beautiful new modern piece. And so I always love hearing your guys' feedback. I really, really appreciate all of the support you guys give me throughout these videos, and this I think is my new favorite. Just the fact that I built the base myself is so unbelievable. I would not be able to say that a year and a half ago, and so I'm just speechless. And I really hope that there's at least one of you watching this that learns how to do it yourself and give it a go.
Thank you guys so incredibly much for joining me for this video. This was a really exciting one. I absolutely loved the outcome, and I always appreciate your guys' feedback. Whether if you loved it, whether if you would have gone with a different style because it's not quite your style, or if you have any techniques or tips for how I did things and what you would do differently. I always appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!